You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk, or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
Well, folks, happy Thursday evening. This is Rick Robinson. You are listening to the Jen and Rick Show live right here on KLRNradio.com. A few minutes later than usual, thanks to Skype. One of these days, we're going to have to figure out. I know there's a way to do this through, like, Google Hangouts, and one of these days, we're going to have to figure that out. Because somebody showed me once, but it's been so long, I can't remember. Because, you know, Skype is really starting to annoy me. That, and if we ever do decide to start using cameras and stuff, Hangouts will take care of that, because it'll actually switch back and forth on the cameras depending on who's talking, so that would make things a little bit easier, although I keep avoiding doing that because everybody knows I have a face made for radio. Nobody wants to see this mug. I have people DM me all the time, can you like put up a fake picture on Twitter because you're ugly? Like, shut up.
Oh my gosh, people are such jerks.
It happens. Usually I bring it on myself, though, because I'll be the first one to tell everybody I have a face made for radio, and somebody will DM me and say, yeah, I agree, you should probably put up a different picture. Like, shut up.
It's just so rude.
It's just people. I'm not sure if they're serious or not, and I'm enough of a smartass.
Oh, probably not.
That I really don't care. But speaking of Twitter, you know, unlike Fox Business News show today, we're going to hijack a hashtag and then actually talk about it. So one of the groups that we are in together actually got a hashtag trending today, and it was thank you notes to Hillary, because, you know, what was it? Was it Kimmel or was it one of the other ones that like did a big thing with that last night?
It was actually on Jimmy Fallon, which he like stays out of this stuff the most, I guess. But or I think it was Jimmy Fallon. I'm almost positive because I remember being like, that's annoying, because he pretty much makes fun of everybody and stays out of it too much. But yeah, it was Jimmy Fallon, and it was the women writers for his show. And then Miley Cyrus was a guest last night, so they had her out too. And it was like super awkward because Hillary is sitting there in the guest chair, and then these women came out and sat at Jimmy's desk and pretended to write a thank you note to her, or actually did write a thank you note to her while saying it out loud, sitting right next to Hillary. I don't know. It was just really awkward and kind of insufferable. And then they handed her the note, and most of them got emotional, and she's like, oh, I just love everybody. I love you guys. So it was pretty gag-inducing. But so, you know, today, Mo and Musket kind of tag teamed the idea for thank you notes. Hillary thank you notes, and it just really took off with some nice and sarcastic stuff. And the best part was that so many liberals started getting mad, and they were like, you know, they're like, oh, they've, you know, conservatives and misogynists have hijacked the hashtag trying to make her look bad. And I'm like, no, conservatives and I guess misogynists, if that's what you want to say, started the hashtag, you Nimrods.
Oh, I bet you they weren't real happy to see that. Wait, I mean, you guys are the ones that actually started that? Why would you? Oh, wait, never mind. Now we understand.
Exactly.
It probably took them a second to catch on. They're like, oh, now we get it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, but there were quite a few that I saw laughing that were kind of like, okay, that's funny, or giving it a little whatever. But then you've got the Peter Dows of the world that just can't. They've just got to defend their queen. So, it's just kind of disgusting. But I think one of my favorite ones was Mo's that said, "Dear Hillary, thank you for dodging sniper fire in Bosnia so you could lose the presidency to a reality show host."
Yeah, I love that. That was actually probably one of my favorite ones.
And then I liked our friend Prepper Frog, who did, "Thank you, Hillary, for the uranium. Love, Russia." I thought that was pretty good, too. Let's see. Musket had a couple of good ones. One of his was, "Thank you, Hillary Clinton, for showing young feminists that when things don't work out, you can always blame a man." So anyways, everybody gets the idea. We kind of all decided to pile on. The one that made me personally giggle was when I said, "Dear Hillary, thank you for going so low. People had to get high to vote for you." And I just made myself laugh with that one.
that one was pretty good too. I don't know. I think the funniest thing about it was, all of a sudden we start seeing that it's trending and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's trending." And then the notification comes out from, I don't know. I guess, is there like a notification? You can tell I've never actually gotten a hashtag trending of my own, because I saw a notification from somewhere that said, yours was the first tweet to use this hashtag and it's now trending. And I was like, holy cow, I've never seen that before. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. When I did the Mincha movie one, at some point I got notified by a couple of different trends monitors, and they I guess they just watch for that, and they like see where things started. And so I would get tweets that would be like, "Your hashtag, the hashtag that first appeared on your TL was is trending in the USA." And so they kept receiving updates here or there about it. So that's pretty cool too, because that's how you kind of really know. You're like, oh, because that means it's trending in the entire United States, not just your region, or not just in some subsector. I mean, we obviously saw a lot of people using it, but we try not to be too pompous in our own bubbles and think that means everyone's in on it. But this one really did spread really far. It was crazy.
The funny thing is, it's still trending. I mean, it's been hours, and it's still up there.
All day long.
I just looked because I realized I spelled it wrong in the title. I was like, wait a minute, I don't think that sounds right. So I went and I was like, yep, it's still there. And yeah, I did it backwards, so I fixed that real quick. It's just... And then I saw one that Aggie put out that had one of Hillary's weird-looking jackets, and it said, thank you, Hillary, for making upholstery great again."
Oh my gosh, I know, that was so funny. That one was so good because she really does. She looks like a couch or a rug.
Oh, it's just... and the funny thing is watching the outrage from people, because... Al and I had tried to start a hashtag earlier in the day, and we're having fun with it, and we got all kinds of hate from it because, CNN was making noise again about how, this was all the rage of white men's fault. So we decided to jump all over that one, and there were trolls all over my TL for most of the day. And one of them was, pointing out that it was all Whitey's fault that Hillary didn't win.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Michelle Obama decided to blame white people again, specifically white men. She already said, I guess like a week or two ago, maybe, that it was white women's fault, and that was because we were basically told not to vote for Hillary Clinton, and our husbands wouldn't let us, or some sort of ridiculousness. And then today she said that one party is, full of old white men, and then the other party is diverse, and so that's what that's basically why Hillary lost. So I'm just confused what party she was looking at, because the one I saw that the Democratic Party ran for president was all an old white woman and then really old white men mostly. And then let's see, what did the Republicans run? Oh, a couple of Hispanics, several women, an African American. I mean, this is it's just getting so disgusting. They just flat out lie. But, those white people, we all bad. So your white man rage is totally, we should just go Minority Report and just go ahead and arrest all you white men. Don't you think?
Yeah, whatever. Come and try. That's all. There's a reason I bought a house out in the middle of nowhere and I have weaponry. Please, come try. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so silly, but this whole, white men do all of this, and white men are the fault of this is it, white men, and da-da-da-da-da. I mean, it's getting really old, and I guess they just want, Donald Trump to be king. I mean, I think they want someone like Trump to be in control forever the way that they're acting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the part of it I don't get, because, I mean, and this was what I kept trying to get across to one of the guys that was all over my Twitter feed today. I'm like, look, dude, I didn't even vote for the man. You're accusing me of voting for some racist, crazy person, and I voted for Gary Johnson. He's like, it's the same thing because you had a binary choice and you didn't vote for her. I'm like, dude, you are a black man who voted for someone who idolized a woman who said specifically that the black race is something that should be removed like a weed. Who was Margaret Sanger. So yep. I really don't understand you talking to me about binary when you voted for someone who basically idolized someone who said your entire race should be removed from the planet, and he muted me. And so,
well, that wasn't playing very nice, Rick. It's really mean of you to throw facts at them. How dare you?
Yeah, no, but that was funny because I didn't even know he muted me because, he didn't block me. He just straight up muted me. And I guess people were still, responding to some of the stuff that I said. And he said, I muted that guy a long time ago because he won't admit they're racist on both sides. And I never told him they weren't racist on both sides because, racism is everywhere. But what I don't like is when people start trying to tell me that Republicans are the only racists in the country because of this whole, this whole paradigm shift that supposedly happened in the 60s because LBJ was the one that pushed was in office when the civil rights movement stuff got passed. But it was the Republicans that allowed him to do that because we were I say we, I'm not a registered Republican anymore, but they were the ones that got in behind him and actually pushed it across the finish line. If I remember right, I don't think a single Democrat voted for anything that he was trying to push across the finish line at that point. It was all Republicans that helped him do that. But for some reason, somehow, some way, there was a paradigm shift. And after that, everybody that was Republican, or everybody that was Democrat became Republican, and now we're the party of the racists. And I don't understand that mindset because we're still the ones that are trying to make people understand it's not about the color of your skin. It's about the fact that you were born free and you have the ability, should you choose, to make whatever you would like to make with your life.
Absolutely. And, that whole the party switch, they just flipped kind of thing is it's one of those there are a few reasons why that came to be, and those are somewhat true, but it's one of those kind of myths that has been pushed, and it's been pushed really hard. I mean, it's been taught in school in history that, what were the Republicans are now Democrats and what were the Democrats are now Republicans. And honestly, I think that, basically that was an effort by progressives long ago to start shedding themselves from and separating themselves from that history that is very unfavorable for them.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of it because let's face it, the Democrats are the ones that can't seem to reconcile with their own history because, they seem to forget, now that they have this big old, hard on for getting rid of anything that has anything to do with the Confederacy and the Civil War, that not too long ago, a certain president who was at one point dubbed by well, at one point was actually dubbed the first black president, even though he's a white guy, Bill Clinton. Actually, if you go back and you find historical records of some of his campaign buttons in his presidential elections, they had the Confederate flag all over them. Somehow nobody was offended by it back then.
Oh, well, it's the same as Obama saying a few years before that he didn't believe in gay marriage and that he thought marriage was between a man and a woman, like they all did. Now they act like they invented gay marriage. I mean, it's just it's always, rewriting and, kind of snaking around things and manipulating words and then just flat out denying stuff that they think Trump's crazy because he kind of does that. Well, they've been doing that for a really long time, and nobody holds them accountable because the media are a bunch of lapdogs, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane that we keep having all this revisionist history going on, and that's part of what's driving me crazy with all of this that was going on today, because we had people, well, it's your fault that Hillary Clinton isn't president. No, it's not my fault, because she got the exact candidate that she wanted to run against, and this is what kept being thrown up in their faces all day long, and they just didn't seem to reconcile what people were trying to say. You're telling me it's my fault that somehow she won, but she couldn't beat the clown car president. Because, I mean, let's face it, that's Donald Trump. He ran his campaign. It might as well have been a clown car full of craziness, because that's basically what it was. He came in like a bull in a china shop, punched everybody in the face, and walked away with the presidency. Now, at some point, it seems like he's finding his footing a little bit more, and he's actually occasionally able to put together sentences that make him sound somewhat presidential. When he's not on Twitter. But,
Yeah, that is funny. I think that...
Oh, did I lose you? Uh-oh. She was talking.
Stand being frustrated. Uh-oh.
Nope, there you are. You were gone for a second.
Oh my gosh, it's so weird. So what I was just saying was like, I'm so sick of this whole idea, like it's your fault for this or it's your fault for that. I mean, I get being frustrated, and I think where that ends is primary stuff. On our side, it's like, we put up a candidate that technically I thought she would beat, and she didn't. And so that's not on me who didn't vote for her. That she didn't convince people to vote for her. And that's not my fault, that she decided to do that. And one guy said to me, you're one of those, bleepity bleeps that held her down. And I was like, or kept her down, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I loved how, my friend Kayla says, well, I had no idea you had so much power. This is awesome. And I'm like, yeah, right. I mean, everybody bowed down. I kept her out of office.
Yeah, I know.
But it just doesn't make any sense to go bashing people, especially people that are not politically aligned with her. I'm not going to vote for her because she's a woman. She is a Democrat, a progressive Democrat that I do not find very much in common with at all, and I don't believe in her in the policies she pushes. So why would I vote for her? Now, I didn't vote for Trump because, again, I didn't agree with him. I wasn't in line with him. But that doesn't mean that I held her down. I mean, people need to really get a grip.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing I told him. I think he confused Hillary Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, because Bill was holding somebody down and telling them to suck it, but it wasn't Hillary. Just
I know, I saw that. That was bad. That was bad. It was funny, but it was bad.
Yeah, I actually felt kind of bad because I realized after I did it that I tagged Hillary and Monica in it, and I was like, I probably really shouldn't have done that, but whatever. Anyway, so, actually, I think we are about due for I forgot. We got a late start, so we got a few minutes. I don't know. So we've talked a lot about the hashtag. I guess it's time that we talk about the craziness in the room, because we haven't really had a chance to talk about Vegas yet, because it happened between show intervals for us. So yeah, lots of craziness going on there, and we have bunch of tinfoil hat folks trying to say that they don't think it was bump stocks and they're not sure what happened and there may or may not have been more than one person. Look, all I'm going to say about all that is because I started looking into it myself last night, and thanks to Ron, he actually showed me where to find some video of people using those bump stocks. And after comparing the audio files, because that's what I do, because as somebody that produces radio, I've gotten really good at hearing things. I can actually pull things up, get them pulled into a file on Audacity, and kind of look at them. And I've gotten to the point where I can see things. Those sound files, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, are very, very similar because they all start out kind of the same way. Because even with the folks that know what they're doing with a bump stock, what it basically does is it uses the recoil to basically pull the trigger. So all you have to do is keep your finger over the trigger. So that's why it's still technically a semi-automatic weapon, because your finger is still the one that is not at this point pulling the trigger, but your finger is still the actuator of the trigger. So as long as you're holding it right and you're doing what you need to do to make it function, it literally will pump out round after round after round after round. But the first couple of pulls are always awkward. And if you notice, when you go back and listen to the audio, if you just tune out everything else and just listen for the audio, when he reloads, the first couple ones are always and then it goes. That's exactly what was happening in the bump stocks, because it takes a second to get it up to speed. It takes a second to get it doing what it's supposed to do. It's also very inaccurate, though, from some folks that I've talked to. So the only reason it worked out as well as it did because he was literally shooting fish in a barrel.
Well, and here's the other thing. First of all, we continue to not know very much about this situation at all. I mean, about him, they've just been so limited in what they've released. And then there have been several things that have been released and they've had to be retracted. I mean, we're just not getting very much information, but there's so many strange things about this entire situation. But one of them is that was annoying me yesterday was like everybody was getting into these incredibly passionate and aggressive arguments about bump stocks. And I seriously was like, I would like to know how many people that are acting like experts after they've gotten their, Google degree now, apparently, ever heard of bump stocks or knew more than just a passing knowledge of them before the last 2 days. And suddenly they know whether they should or should not be banned. They know how they operate. They know all these things. And I'm like, all y'all are doing is Googling the same crap as everybody else. You didn't even know what this was. Quit acting like some sort of authority on the issue. That was just driving me insane yesterday. People are smacking each other around like crazy. And I'm like, you've never even heard of it till before yesterday. And so I put that question out there, I bet half the people that are arguing about this so aggressively, didn't even hear about it before yesterday. And there were some pretty legitimate 2A advocates that I know they post weekly pictures of them at ranges and stuff like that are very gun knowledgeable, that even posted to me say, I admit that I didn't know much about them. And I spend a lot of time at the range, and I didn't know much. I'm around guns all the time. I have a huge stock, and I didn't know much about them. So, everyone kind of needs to cool their jets about what they think they are absolutely positive about, with all of this kind of thing. No one really knows. And most people aren't doing the thorough research that you are doing and trying to compare audio samples in a truly legitimate way. So most of these people are just flying by the seat of their pants, and, thus is Twitter.
Well, I mean, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, really. It's just it's something that I've actually taught myself how to do, because everything that I do as far as audio production and everything, that's stuff that I've taught myself. But one of the things that's gotten me really, really good at is I can actually, not only can I hear things really well when I've got the headset on and everything set just right, I really can basically put two files kind of side by side and look for the peaks and the valleys. And, and again, I could still be completely wrong. And I will be the first one to admit, even growing up in the family that I grew up in and the background that I have, I didn't really know anything about a bump stock until they started talking about them the other day. That's why I wanted to go find some stuff about them, because I had known about some other ways to modify things from semi-auto to auto, but I didn't realize there was a way to still technically legally do it, because it's not really an automatic weapon, because your finger is still involved. Your finger is not really the one, it's not pulling the trigger anymore, but it's still a required component in actuating the trigger using this particular method. Now, the other thing that the left seems to be leaving out of this argument is when exactly were bump stocks made legal. And that's something that I know that they don't seem to talk about, because that happened under the Obama administration.
Yeah, people are really staying mum about that, aren't they?
Well, it doesn't fit the narrative. And that's the other thing that drives me crazy about this stuff. And it was even more apparent with the recent passing of a rock legend, because everybody in the rush to be first reported that he was dead, and they were wrong. Because they weren't worried about being right, they were worried about being first. That's our biggest problem in the media anymore. And
right.
And again, this is going to be something that's going to sound really weird coming from a capitalist, but I don't think the media, and I'm not counting myself as media in this instance, because I don't really report the news. I discuss the news and give you my opinion on it. That makes me a pundit, not somebody that actually should be considered a legitimate member of the media. And I know for somebody that does talk radio, that's an odd thing to hear, but I'll be the first one to tell you I am not a member of the media. I get media credentials when I go to events where I rate them because I'm a political pundit, but that's the only. I don't try to go cover legitimate news.
Well, you're media, but you are not part of the journalistic media. You're not part of news. We're not part of news reporting. That's, there are sectors. There are different sectors, and a lot of people that are commentary, do commentary and punditry, try to portray themselves as also part of the journalism side of media, and that's not genuine.
And I mean, and at some point I do hopefully plan on moving in that direction as we continue to get stuff established. Even if I don't become a part of it, I do plan on eventually having a news organization tied to this particular station and the network that we're building, because I want us to actually become a legitimate source for news. I don't know if I will ever make the transition, because I'm not really as comfortable reporting news as I am discussing it. So I don't know if it would be something that I would ever do, but it is a plan. But I mean, as far as that goes, one of the hardest things to do is watch everybody just come out of the woodwork, and all they want to do is push a narrative. This isn't about the truth anymore. It's about a narrative. I want to know why this man, who was apparently fairly well off and had the ability to buy 40 some odd weapons within the last year and a half, and passed every single background check for every single one. Now, I want to repeat that. He went through the processes. This wasn't somebody that went and bought a bunch of guns off the back of a truck. He bought the guns legally, he passed the background checks, and he still managed to do this. I heard on the news this morning that he carted 5 suitcases worth of weapons into that hotel room, and somehow nobody caught on. Now, again, we don't typically have metal detectors, and we don't go through TSA-style security to get into a hotel, so I understand why he was able to do some of what he was able to do. But when somebody does everything the right way, how are you supposed to combat that? Because I hear everybody saying now that we need guns to be removed. I've seen so many people since this happened that, this should be the catalyst for America, like the incident in Australia was for Australia, and we need to do gun control. No, we don't. First of all, we are way too large of a population for that to ever happen. Second of all, you cannot tell me that just because we make something illegal that people aren't going to find a way to get it done. Prisoners aren't supposed to have weapons in jail, but they make them all the time, including guns. I've seen people make one-shot guns out of the cardboard from toilet paper rolls and MacGyver some crap. So it's going to happen one way or the other. It's kind of like abortion. No matter how much I want it to completely go away, there's not going to be any way that genie is ever going to be put entirely back in the bottle. I think we could get it back to the point where it's at least regulated by the states so that people that are opposed to it can vote with their feet. That's what I would like to see happen, because that's the best scenario for everybody. But this idea that we can basically just get rid of guns and outlaw them and everything's going to be perfectly fine and great and well and good, that is a fallacy perpetrated by the left, because they keep saying stricter gun laws and gun control will help with people getting guns. But at the same time, they talk about the fact that now that the House has passed this 20-week abortion ban, this is going to force people to circumvent the law and hurt themselves and possibly do more harm than good, because people are going to find ways to break the law to get abortions. So if
because people really, really, really can't figure it out before they're 5 months pregnant.
I know, right?
Drives me insane.
But
2 months, whatever. 5 months, you really need the entire 9 months to figure it the freak out. I mean, come on. I'm so sick of it. But yeah, you're right. The it's inconsistent, right? So they say on one side that will work. On the other side, it means that people will then be driven to alleys and whatever. But, really everyone is just so they want something to be done. And the problem is we've got thousands and thousands of gun laws on the books. And I can't figure out a single one that could have been enforced on this guy, or one that we could make now. I've seen people suggest some things. Okay, maybe the bump stock thing, maybe, but that doesn't mean that he still doesn't kill a whole lot of people. And I've seen people suggest a few things that we could do besides just the bump stock, and one of which, of course, is finally getting a few people to admit that, they would like to see a reduction in the number of guns, period, and to outlaw semi-automatics as well as automatics, which most of them still think you can just get willy-nilly, and you can't. But the semi-autos, I'm like, do you know how many guns that is? Most of them do not realize that a majority of the handguns that most people carry are actually semi-automatic weapons. They have no idea. They don't know what they're talking about on this subject at all. And they're just spouting off talking points. They're spouting off ideas they've heard someone else say or what they think seems reasonable without having, any knowledge really on the subject. I mean, one of the people yesterday was like, no, I don't own a gun. I will never be trained with a gun. I will never have a gun because guns are bad and I don't want them anywhere near me. Okay, well then I don't think, much like abortion and men, I don't think that you get to be a part of this conversation right now because you don't know what you're talking about and you are speaking in emotional terms and without any real knowledge of the subject. I'm not saying you don't get to have an opinion at all or that you don't get to or you shouldn't be able to speak yours in something like this. But when we're talking about right after a major tragedy and getting down to the nitty gritty of what could be done to keep mass murder from happening again, and you don't even know what the weapons are really, I mean, you have no intimate knowledge of them, then maybe you should just be quiet for a little bit until we can kind of figure it all out. I don't know. It's just really getting under my skin that some of these people, and they just throw out these things and they get 500, 600, 700, 25,000 retweets. And they don't even know what they're talking about. Yesterday was one about America where you wait 6 months for an x-ray but can't, Jessica Chastain, you wait 6 months for an x-ray but can get an AR-15 in 5 minutes. What? You're absolutely insane.
Where the hell in America do you wait for an x-ray for 6 months except for maybe the VA?
Well, that's what I said. I said, then you better be reporting. I said, first of all, get a new doctor. And second of all, report that doctor to the state medical board because that is not okay. And but then also it's just not true and it's disingenuous. And she had so many retweets. She's pushing that out to her young fans on purpose. She knows it's a lie. And she's doing that anyways. Or if she doesn't know it's a lie, she's really pretty stupid and she should not be opening her mouth about something she has no idea. So it's really frustrating. And these conversations never go very well. And it's really hard to find common ground with people that, did things like cheer about the fact that it was a country concert, which means it was probably Trump voters that were dying. And that's just a really sad state of affairs.
Yeah, you mean like the CBS legal executive that got fired over the social media comments? Yeah.
Yep.
Now,
it's bad.
Now, I want people to understand this part of it because I actually know somebody here locally that is actually a member of the media. He's the editor for the McCarville Report. He's actually worked for news stations. He actually works at KOKC, and we've come to know each other over the years back when he was on the other local station here, and we talk a lot through social media. The thing I want people to understand is, from a news perspective, that was terrible what she did, because this was the person that was actually the top executive in their nationwide news network that people would come to and get clearance before they could run stories. And she was putting out a public opinion such as, I can't have any sympathy for these people because most of them probably voted for Trump and tote guns anyway, so it's their fault that this happened in the first place. This was the person that was ultimately going to be the one that was telling the reporters that worked under her whether they could run with stories. And this is why CBS had to act as quickly as they did, even though they are risking a lawsuit, because she can come back and try to sue them. It's not gonna do anything, but that's probably what she's gonna do because she's an attorney. But they had to do what they did because what this told the world and anybody that understood it was this person could be allowing their biases to open up the entire network to lawsuits by having the people that were under her run with stories that they technically should have never run with in the first place, opening them up to lawsuits, opening CBS up to lawsuits, and ultimately opening her up to lawsuits. And that's why they fired her instantly, because she was the ultimate authority as to what would be considered legal and newsworthy on that network, and she flubbed it.
Yeah, it was really inexcusable. And like we've said before, I don't really care for calling for people's jobs for stupid comments, but like you said, she is senior counsel. She was an executive with them. This bears a lot more responsibility than just your, drive-through cashier or something spouting off about a cop. I mean, this is really big time stuff, and she has to be more responsible than that.
Speaking of responsibility, we got to pay some bills. We'll be right back. We're really, really long.
Okay.
Helps if I hit the right button. Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Welcome back, folks. Good evening. Again, this is Jen and Rick. We are live right now on KLRradio.com. We do this thing every Thursday night, usually at about 10 p.m. Eastern. Thanks to Skype, we got a bit of a late start. Speaking of which, in between not feeling well today and getting the late start, there will not be an America Off the Rails tonight. I know it was the last show of the week. Some of you are going to be really, really sad, but I'll try to make it up to you another time. I actually missed work today because I don't feel well, so I can't really stay up super late because I can't miss work 2 days in a row. Now, if some of you want to start hitting that donate link and get me some money, then eventually I can do this full time. No, sorry, just kidding. Well, kind of. Donate anyway. We need the money. All right, so anyway. So lots of things still to talk about. We've been all over the thank you notes to Hillary, which was really nauseating. I actually watched some of it this morning before the hashtag ever started trending. We've talked about the craziness on the left when it comes to the difference between, gun control laws will work, but further tougher restrictions on abortion will just make women kill themselves. I'm not sure where their circular logic comes into play on that one. We also are now starting to see, well, actually, I noticed something when we were on break, that apparently there is a university that is attempting to stop Katie Pavlich from being able to speak, and they're trying to block students from being able to go there. I think it was, I don't have it in front of me anymore, and Twitter updates so fast now I lose the crap I'm trying to hang on to. I think it was it University of Wisconsin? I think it was University of Wisconsin. But anyway, so, just another day in the life of a conservative. You can only have free speech if you're a liberal.
This has been going on for so long, and I'm so over it. I mean, I just don't understand how a reasonable, and I guess here's the thing, people are unreasonable, and especially this with this liberal and progressive indoctrination that these people are just fanatical about. I mean, it's almost cult-like, so that no one else can speak, no one else can be heard. I mean, we just talked about this in our group today. There was a student that left the University of Texas at San Antonio because one of his professors had basically said that he would recommend for his, expulsion for being expelled from the school because he mentioned that Islam in several Muslim countries, he's bisexual and he could be executed for his sexual orientation. And that was unacceptable. You couldn't talk about Islam that way. And so this is just becoming a common thing, and it has been there for a long time, but it's getting worse and worse and worse, to where you can't hear anybody else. You don't have to or shouldn't tolerate differing opinions. And they've somehow convinced so many people in academia that conservatives are truly dangerous, that we are evil and we are dangerous, and we should not even be given the chance to say anything. And it's really pretty disgusting, because I think that it's actually very dangerous to be a college campus of any kind where you are supposed to be fostering growth, encouraging, analytical, developing their analytical skills, which include being able to take on different kinds of information and then use their brains to sort them out and figure out what they believe, and to research what they find, so they can find out some truth, and to foster that kind of the creative intelligence of being able to take in all sorts of things and have meaningful debate, and being able to discuss ideas, ones that you like and ones that you don't. And if we are going to take that away, and we're going to say, no, actually there are such things as wrong and bad ideas and speech, and so not only should they not be heard or ignored, but we should actually shut that down and never allow it to come near us. That is extremely concerning to me, and I think that is more dangerous than anything anybody could say.
I'm going to be completely honest. When I first started doing this type of stuff on social media like Facebook and stuff, I was not always a free speech advocate. When I first started a social media page, anytime anybody came into my social media space and said something that pissed me off, I was the first one to hit the ban hammer. But as I started getting more serious about this, I actually had... And believe it or not, yes, it was a liberal friend of mine who actually came over and helped me start running the page, who eventually was my co-host for several years on Finding Common Ground. And he basically told me, for somebody who keeps talking about how much you are a proponent of the First Amendment, you sure seem to silence anybody that pisses you off. And I really got to I got to think about that, and that was one of the things that actually started shifting my mindset. And it kind of made me understand, I think, more of the actual intent of the First Amendment. Because the First Amendment isn't the ability, it doesn't have anything to do with he who shouts the loudest gets to speak the longest. It's everybody has the ability to say, within reason, pretty much whatever they want to say. And you either have the ability to listen to it, or you can choose to walk away. But that's one of the things, again, even with like Milo, I don't agree with about 80% of what he says, because in my opinion, he's not really full-on conservative, and he's more of kind of like a conservative shock jock, and I really don't like those type of folks. But at the same time, I would never tell him he didn't have the ability to speak. If he were to call me tomorrow and say, hey, I want to come on your show and I want to talk about this, I would give him the whole hour. Hell, we might even run long, because, Dan and I usually do that anyway. I mean, so it's not like I wouldn't give him a platform, but that's part of what I don't understand, because to me, if you really want to understand what's out there, you need to give everybody the ability to say whatever they think they need to say, no matter how crazy it is. Hell, in my opinion, the crazier it is, the more you need to be listening to it, because if one person has this crazy idea, there are a million other people behind them that don't have the guts to stand up and say the same thing. That's why I started making a big deal about alt-right when they started coming out in droves for Donald Trump. Because for every 10 that we saw, you could guarantee there were at least 1,000 in the woodwork that were like, yeah, I agree with these people. Because a lot of people don't have the balls to stand up and actually say what they think. They let other people speak for them, and that was one of the reasons why I kept waiting for him to shout them down, and he never really did. That was one of the first things that left a bad taste in my mouth when it came to Trump, because I realized he was willing to ally himself with anyone he needed to push himself across the finish line. I don't know if he fully agrees with their concepts or not, because he said publicly that he doesn't, but he didn't do anything really to distance himself from him. That was one of the things that I liked about Reagan back in the day. At one point, he basically said, you know what, if you're here and you're here to vote for me and you're a white supremacist, get the hell out.
Well, that is true. You should just really consider that point, Rick. You should take that to heart, and just really maybe learn, and you could grow from this, and you can't really ever shed your white supremacy ways because of your white privilege, and you can't help it. You're just born evil. But at least maybe you could recognize it a little bit more, and then maybe just maybe then you would get maybe a little pat on the back from the liberal elite. I don't know. I'm just saying that maybe you should really kind of consider some of these things. If people are calling you those names all the time, maybe the problem isn't them. Maybe it's you.
Oh, so is that one of those things like I had somebody say at work to me the other day, you know what? If at the beginning of the day you meet an a-hole, but by the end of the day you've talked to 40 people and you consider them all a-holes, maybe you're the a-hole. But, speaking of this whole free speech thing and everything else that's going on, I really like it when leftists start eating their own. UC Berkeley students are protesting exams, accuse peers and professors of supporting white supremacy because they don't want to have to come in to take the tests. UC Berkeley.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
The home of liberalism throughout the world. UC Berkeley students attempted to shut down their midterm exam with claims that it would have a negative impact on their physical and mental health. The students, who were captured on video, demanded a take-home essay with significant time to prepare and accused their uncooperative professor of not checking his privilege. This is a campus that is truly related throughout Latin America to the notion of free speech, said Professor Harley Shaken to the class, eliciting laughter and derision from the protesters. Dismissive of the professor, the activists claimed that their well-beings are being put on the line because of the emotional, mental, and physical stress that the university is compounding with what is already going on in their everyday lives.
Oh my goodness. I don't even.
But that's what I'm saying.
Is this real life? Is this real life?
I just keep waiting for tonight on the Twilight Zone. This is Rod Serling. I keep expecting to see him out of the corner of my eye somewhere. Next stop, Twilight Zone. Because every time you think it can't get any more absurd, it gets more absurd. But don't forget, these are the same people that think that we should make college free. These people are paying for this and not taking it seriously. That was the one thing that got through to me with college that was so much different than, high school. Was, high school, you had to go. College, you were there because you wanted to be there. And that's why after I got my associate's degree, I decided, you know what, it was enough for me. I didn't really need to be in college to do anything else that I was going to wind up doing, because at the time, the career path that I changed over to only required an associate's degree. Now, at this point in my life, I'd wish I'd gone on to get my 4-year degree, because I've actually missed out on a couple of promotions at the day job I have now, because with where I work, they required degrees, and an associate's degree usually isn't high enough. Which is another thing that I really don't like about some of the current stuff that goes on in this country, because not everyone is set up or fit to go to college. Not everyone needs to go to college. I think that was one of the first things that really kind of turned me on to Rush Limbaugh, was listening to him talk about it, because I heard him say years ago, everybody that I know always brags, about, well, my kid's the first one to go to college, or I will hear someone say, I was the first one in my family to graduate from college. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you folks, I'm probably the first person in my family that didn't graduate from college, because I was there for 3 months and realized I didn't need it.
Well, and there are reasons all around that people choose or don't, to go or not. But I'm just so sick of all the condescension, honestly, and the assumptions and the name calling and the hypocrisy, the utter hypocrisy is driving me absolutely insane. I'm someone that is pretty logical, and I work very analytically, and that's how my brain works. And so when you have people that are so outrageously inconsistent and so overtly hypocritical, it really does truly make my brain hurt. Like, it makes it kind of gives me anxiety because I'm like, how can you believe this, but then also believe that? And how can I? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any logical sense to me at all. And the thing is that I think with so many people, they actually don't believe those things, or they believe one of them and not really the other. But there is a narrative to push. There's an agenda to push, and there's a narrative to uphold. And some of it's just regurgitating talking points they've just heard forever. So they just keep on at it. I mean, I know someone in my husband's family that he spent a long time on the phone with the other day who just seriously was saying stuff to him because they've just heard it over and over and over, and they watch MSNBC and they read, stuff from Occupy Democrats. And so she was like, well, I don't understand why in the world the automatic weapons are legal. Mom, they're not. What do you mean? I mean, it just went on and on and on. It was like all this. It was like, no, I know it's true. I know it is because they've said, everyone says it. Everyone says it. Well, but everyone's wrong. And we just get to this place where there's just so much misinformation. And that's the way that, unfortunately, that the actual, top part of the left, that's how they want it. They want people arguing with us that are not armed with facts at all. They're armed with narrative and emotions, and they just keep shouting louder.
Yeah, I think that's the disturbing thing about it is the people that will just take something that somebody says at face value and not do research of their own, all because, they're with the media or they have a blue check mark. I actually have been in social media arguments with people lately that were trying to discount some of the things that we were hearing coming out of Puerto Rico, even though we were hearing it from actual other government officials. That, like with the whole trucker thing, I still have heard mixed signals on that, but one of the most reliable sources I heard from was actually somebody that I know that was down there trying to help, and he's like, look, dude, this is the craziest thing that I've ever seen. There are all of these things that are sitting here waiting to be moved, and we have truckers sitting on their hands, and the people that are here translating for us are saying that when they talk to the union bosses are saying something about the governor voted for something 3 weeks ago that pissed off all the truckers, so now they're sitting on their hands to prove to people that the truckers' lives matter too. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard it directly from somebody who's down there who I trust. But then we have all these blue check marks all over Twitter saying that really didn't happen. But I honestly have gotten to the point where I don't trust anybody anymore because it's all about a narrative. Nobody actually tries to get to the truth anymore. They just want to see who's going to click something the most. Case in point was a story I saw put out about Puerto Rico. I think it was from The Hill. In the article itself, they actually pointed out that President Trump had waived the hot food restriction for food stamps. But on the social media tease they put out on Twitter, they said that he had denied the food stamp waiver.
Right, I saw that.
Now in the article,
that was egregious.
In the article they did it right, but in the grab they blatantly lied to get people to retweet the article, and you could tell because by the end of it, it had over 6,000 retweets, and almost every single comment on that thread was negative because all they did was read the headline that was on the grab and react to it. And it's crazy that we've gotten to that point where people will just look at whatever's put out at the top of a tweet and not even ever actually bother to open the article and see what the article actually says because the article headline was completely different than the social media tease. And it was
and I know we're all guilty of that a time or two here or there, which is what makes, for me, I mean, people click the links and actually read them to make sure that the headline matches. But they kind of count on this kind of stuff, right? So that's what makes it so irresponsible of The Hill to me, as someone putting out news, as a trusted source, that they are putting out something with such an awful headline that doesn't match the story. So, to me, I mean, shame on anybody for just jumping to conclusions and not reading the article, but truly, truly, shame on The Hill.
And I get changing a word or two to make it more exciting on the social media grab, but you don't do the exact opposite of your GD headline. I mean, really,
right.
You change the whole flavor of the article, and then you've got 6,000 people retweeting it. Nobody's bothering to read it, and everybody's commenting. I finally just started grabbing everyone I could see and be like, did you read it? 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 Because I'm like, you guys didn't even bother to read this before you started making negative comments. Look, I'll be the first one to throw Trump under the bus when he deserves it, but this wasn't one of those times. I have been so pissed off about this Puerto Rico thing that I can't, this is going to be funny to some of you, but I can't see straight over it. Because this is not something that he deserves to take the flack that he's taking over this. And I stand by this statement. I've made it on social media. I've made it on several different shows. I firmly believe that with all of the different hurricanes and the fires and the natural disasters and all of the other things that have happened within the last couple of months under this president, I firmly believe that if Barack Obama were president at this time, the country would be on fire. Because he couldn't even keep a single town from burning itself when he was president.
I mean, it's true. I feel like this kind of happened at like such the entire the Las Vegas thing happened at such a bad time because like you've said before, like we're at such a disconnect right now, and there were some things that were being done where whether people liked it or not, it kind of felt like there was a little bit of meshing going on at the legislative level, at least. A little bit more bipartisanship kind of coming around a little bit. And we had the return of someone who was a direct victim to gun violence and still supports guns and the NRA, Scalise. But there was just some steps being taken. I think there was a little bit of healing going on. Of course, there's always going to be crazy rhetoric with, the liberals and news organizations and whatnot. But it was feeling a little bit better on that end of things. And it was feeling a little bit better in kind of my daily life and what I'm observing about people. And people that normally were just like super anti-Trump were kind of like, oh, well, but there were a lot of regular people that really liked the UN stuff. What happened at the UN? They were like, no, it's time that we stand up. It's time that we don't let them bully us around anymore. It's time that we call them out. So there just seemed to have been a lot of positives happening. And then the Vegas shooting happens. And now, they took no time to jump on that and politicize it. And here we are just like ripping each other to shreds all over again.
Yeah, I saw somebody, after the Vegas shooting, they had an article about Scalise returning to D.C. And somebody actually on the thread that was put out about that said, I think we need more baseball practices.
Oh my gosh.
So my response was, well, if you think we need more baseball practices, maybe you should go be a cheerleader at the baseball practices you're calling for.
Exactly.
All right, so believe it or not, we are actually overtime, which I wasn't really that worried about because I'm not doing the other show tonight. But why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the air listening to me rant?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at jholmstead. That's where I spend most of my time on social media. I do pop in on JR Holmstead on Facebook every now and then, and check out misfitspolitics.com. And if you want to check out, I did kind of a compilation of some of the tweets on the Hillary Thank You Notes hashtag that trended like crazy today that we talked about earlier. So it's a Misfit Memo special edition for the hashtag. So go to misfitspolitics.com and check that out and join us tomorrow night for Misfit Mischief.
Yeah, it was kind of Twitchy style. I was impressed.
Yeah, I've done those before. I do them for stuff like this when it involves, directly involves a misfit or several maybe good friends, contributors to misfits. It's just like a neat kind of way to wrap it up and put a bunch of it together. And, people like that stuff. I'm not trying to steal Twitchy's thunder. I'm not doing it all the time and for every topic. We just do it for very specific things. But it is fun and people seem to enjoy it. So I do it.
All right. And yeah, you guys really should go check that out. It was a great piece. And I, of course, am Rick Robinson. You can follow along with me at Radio Host Rick, or you can shoot me an email at rick@klrnradio.com. And of course, normally we do America Off the Rails right after this show, but in between not feeling well today and the late start, there's just not enough time for me to fit it all in with the editing I'm going to have to do. So for the folks that usually listen on the affiliates tomorrow, Friday's show will be a replay over there because I'm not going to do a live show tonight. But I'll be back with you tomorrow night for Robinson and Wright at a slightly delayed time because we have a home football game tomorrow night. But my son is now a licensed driver, so we don't have to wait around for him to come out of the locker room, so it shouldn't be too terrible.
I don't know if that's woohoo or oh my gosh.
Well, for me, it's woohoo. For the wife, she's like, I kind of gonna miss like waiting for him after the game, and it's like, I know, dear, I know. I was picking on her the other day because she was the one that had to take him to go do the test, and I'm like, don't cry too much when he gets his license. She's like, shut up, that's not funny, and I'll cry if I want. But yeah, so it's kind of a bittersweet thing because he's the youngest, and and I was talking about this with some other folks, and we really do need to get out of here. But it's interesting because when you make them, and I'm going to say this, and please don't misunderstand what I'm saying because I'm not saying my children were a mistake, but when you make the mistake of starting very, very young, at some point you start looking at it going, well, I can't wait till my kids are older. Well, John was our miracle because my second wife, was never supposed to be able to get pregnant again. So we weren't expecting him. So we had already planned things out, because by now all of my other kids and her other child are adults. So we had thought we were going to be done by about, 3-4 years ago. Well, now he's about to turn 17. So it's kind of bittersweet for us because when we were younger, it was like we couldn't wait till the kids were grown and out of the house. But then at some point life changes and you start realizing, he's almost an adult now. And even though we were rushing for that day to get here, now we suddenly want to throw the vehicle of life in reverse and get back to him being in, middle school, grade school, something. Just not almost a little over a year away from being a legal adult. And it's just funny to think about how the perspective of things changes for you as you get older. And that's something that I want to point out and to folks, because I know this goes on a lot when you're younger. A lot of you guys, you're dealing with all kinds of things. You don't really feel like you've got anybody that you can talk to. And you sometimes make rash, drastic decisions. Slow down, stop, and think, because at some point, whatever your point of view is right now, it's probably not going to be the same a couple years from now. And I say that in all seriousness, because I recently have seen from a couple of people that I know, that a couple of veterans that they interact with on a daily basis, and even recently a teenager, have recently taken their own lives. Don't do anything that you can't ever take back, especially in the heat of the moment, because your perspectives are going to change. I'm living proof, because I couldn't wait till all of my children were out of the house. Now I'm wanting to keep this one here and handcuff him.
Absolutely.
And on that note, we are officially out because we are really, really long. I will see you guys tomorrow night on the Robinson and Wright Show. Take care. God bless. We'll see you when we see you. And Jen and I will be back next Thursday. As far as I know, I think JD and Stacy are planning on a return on Tuesday, so tune in for that as well. Woo-hoo.